Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/PettyRevenge. In today's episode, finally, Ultra Petty Ice Cube revenge after 33 years of marriage. I lived next to the guy that called the city on all his neighbors weekly. I bet he remembers this. Want me to pay for a service I will not receive? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Finally, Ultra Petty Ice Cube revenge after 33 years of marriage. My husband and I have been married for 33 years. I love him, I really do, but he has this infuriating habit of not refilling the ice tray after use. He will take a few cubes out and pop the tray back in the freezer. I cannot count the times I have gone to get ice to find there are not enough cubes for whatever I need them for. I have tried everything to get him to fill up the tray when there are less than half left. I have asked nicely, pleaded, whined, whinged, rationalized, tried to bribe. You get the picture. His answer has always been that it doesn't need filling and he will fill it if it is empty. Then 3 weeks ago I had an epiphany, a bit on the slow side, as I was removing ice from the tray and, once again, filling it up. If you can't beat M, join M. So now I don't fill the tray, and as it reaches close to the end, I am strategic about my use of cubes. I always leave just one in the tray. When he needs ice, it is available, but he will have to fill the tray. I have not filled the tray in 3 weeks, and it is amazing the joy I find in this little revenge. Long may it last. LOL. Are you married to my husband? November 10th. Apparently she is married to mine too. LOL. This year for our 33rd anniversary, I got DH a countertop ice cube maker from Costco. Issue solved. Y'all don't just keep an ice bucket in the freezer, dump and refill immediately? Hey man, some people are out here just living from ice cube tray to tray. Why would you refill a half-empty ice cube tray? Now you can't use the remaining half on the tray until the new half freezes because the water will go everywhere if you try to pop out the already frozen cubes. So you are only getting half as many cubes per freezing cycle and waiting through twice as many freezing cycles than you need to. It's completely illogical. Would you put water in half the tray, leave half the tray empty, and stick it back in the freezer? That's basically what you are doing. If you are about to go to bed and know the tray will not be used until morning, then maybe filling a tray that isn't empty makes sense, but other than that, it's nonsense. I lived next to the guy that called the city on all his neighbors weekly. I bet he remembers this. My wife, 22F at the time, and I, 26M at the time, shopped for a home in 2016 before things got too crazy, and we found a small place in a working-class neighborhood. We were working on getting the property approved for the FHA loan, and in the meantime, the seller allowed us to stay there so we could start fixing up the place. It was quite the fixer-upper, but we were young and the prospect of sweat equity was exciting. We were surprised that the house was so inexpensive until we got to know our next-door neighbor. Devin was somewhat famous in the neighborhood for finding reasons to call the city over infractions. For example, he would go out at night and measure the distance tires were from the curb. He filled noise complaints all the time and would intimidate folks on the street with threatening letters. Most memorably, Devin would actually regularly heckle the previous black tenants of the property we were buying from the safety of his elevated backyard. It was on a bit of a hill. What made the property we were buying was difficult to qualify for the FHA loan was that the detached garage in the backyard had a sloping roof. The structure was at least 70 years old and was in disrepair. The seller paid to have it torn down, however. This only revealed that one of the walls of the structure was the retaining wall for a huge section of Devin's backyard. The 8-foot retaining wall was in bad shape. It leaned in towards my side by nearly 18 inches at the top from the bottom. It looked like it wouldn't take much to fall over and presented itself as a hazard. With permission from the seller, I tore down the retaining wall with the intent of replacing it myself, at my own cost. This opened us up to a barrage of creepy, threatening, cryptic letters from Devin. He was going to sue, we had to have an engineer approve of everything, etc., etc. He called the city almost every day. He insisted that we pay for everything despite the fact that it was the roots on his side that were pushing into my property. The code enforcement worker privately agreed with my assessment but seemed cowed by Devon's daily calls. Anyway, I decided that I was done dealing with Devon. It was too stressful. I didn't even own the place, I was the buyer, and the loan wouldn't get approved anyway due to the issue. Neither the seller nor Devon were willing to pay for a new wall, and I knew that anything I built wouldn't be good enough for Devon anyway. Before my wife and I gave up and moved out, I hacked a bit at the roots that were the last thing holding Devon's yard in from falling 8 feet down. They were overhanging my side of the property, after all, so I would have had to cut them down before building a replacement retaining wall. My guess is that Devon ended up losing about a fourth of his backyard and his fence over the next couple of months to erosion. Edit, we were 26 and 22 at the time. Not now. An acquaintance of mine, Tom, had a Devon very briefly. Tom knew full well why the house was going cheap. The cousin he bought it from told him, up front, about the prison guard neighbor that had frightened away 3 sets of tenants by threatening them over everything from trash cans to having pets. So the very first weekend after closing, Tom throws a backyard barbecue for his friends. It's loud and crowded, and everyone's having a fantastic time. Devon comes home from work, mid-party, and immediately tries to start shit. He screams out his window and throws shit over the fence. When the shit is thrown back and the music turned up, Devon tries a call to the police, telling them, and I quote, "There's a bunch of druggies fighting next door." Cops showed, cops ate some hot dogs, cops left. After the next 2 calls to police went nowhere and the party was still being terrific, we'd set up lawn darts and bocce. Devon put his uniform back on, grabbed a pistol and wandered over to take care of it himself the way that it always worked, by threatening people. He stomps into the backyard, waving his gun around, and gives the biggest, closest guy a shove. "Devon, this party is over. Everyone needs to get their shit and leave. Now." I don't think I heard the end of the word "now" actually come out of the man's mouth, just a crunch and screaming, because the county deputy Devon had shoved now had him pinned on the ground with a broken arm. See, Tom worked for the city prosecutor's office 2 towns over. His friends were lawyers, cops, and folks from City Hall. Once Devon went into the back of an ambulance he didn't return. Went to jail, didn't get bond, and his landlord evicted him while he was waiting for trial. Yeah, dummy wanted a trial, because he'd done nothing wrong. Ended up serving time for 2 felonies. People like this asshole can dish it out, but they can never take it. All you would need to do is sue him for harassment one time, and call all the city employees as witnesses. You would win so fast it would make his head spin. I swear to you he would never call on you again. My old next-door neighbor would call the city every time he saw someone was remodeling to check and see if they had proper permits. God knows why this was his fetish, but it was. So, when he replaced his deck, I convinced every neighbor to call and report a set of non-related issues on his home, including a fence that was too close to the property line, a sump line that ran to the street, too few roof vents. In our city, no valid building permit for his deck can be issued as long as an outstanding issue remains unresolved on the property. In the end, he had to fix 7 violations before his deck could be built. It took over a year. When it was done, I told him I did it, and would do it again if he ever called the city on one of his neighbors again. Problem solved. When I bought my home in 2008, we were told that the only deed restriction was that we couldn't have chickens. No big deal, we didn't plan on owning them to begin with. 6 months after moving in, we met the elderly woman who lived behind us. I'll call her Judith for the story. Judith sees me in the yard and starts trying to get my attention, so I walk over to the stone wall that divides our property, and she begins to tell me what I can and cannot have on my property. Judith's home is situated on a street that previously had a covenant that dictated that you couldn't keep commercial vehicles in your driveway. They had to be garaged and not parked on the road, etc., etc. I likely stopped her after she was going on for a few minutes and said, "Judith, it's been a pleasure to meet you. However, if this is the way that you want to begin our neighborly relationship, please let me go in the house to get the tax bill and mortgage. I'll give them to you, and when you begin paying my bills, then and only then will I let you tell me to do on my side of this wall. Also, if you're so hell-bent on enforcing those rules that apply to your road, begin by cleaning up your leaves and your overgrown gardens, okay?" She immediately backed down, apologized, and we had a cordial relationship until she moved out a few years later. Ever since purchasing my home, dealing with my crazy neighbors, I have come to the conclusion that the first thing I will ever do with the next purchase is to vet the neighbors. Full-blown Google background checks, lol. IDC. Want me to pay for a service I will not receive? About 5 years ago, I married the love of my life. One of the plans for our honeymoon involved a full spa day at this cute little ma and pa place in the town we were staying in. I was hesitant to book it because it was a pretty big splurge for our budget. However, it was our honeymoon, so what the hell, it's worth the memories. Spa day rolls around. Probably should have confirmed the calendar the night before, but I already knew the appointment was for 11 a.m. I now have to admit, this was a tofu. Anyway, we wake up and slowly start to get ready, then my calendar reminder goes off at 10 a.m. saying our spa appointment is now starting. Okay. My bad, but honestly it isn't the end of the world. The whole thing was supposed to take 6 hours and we are staying 5 minutes down the road. We can be out the door in a minute or two. I call the spa and Karen answers the phone. I give her my info and ask if we can still come in and just skip the first 30 minutes of our massage. Karen tells me there is absolutely no way we can come in late to an appointment. Their therapists are on a tight schedule and there isn't any way they can accommodate our poor planning. Yes, she said that. My polite pleas fell on deaf ears. On top of that, Karen also said that the card I put on file would still be charged for the full day. My new wife and I had to accept that there wouldn't be a spa day on our honeymoon. We were going to attempt to make the most of it anyway. We were optimistic as we were still in a tourist town, we just had to keep in mind whatever we did would add to our budget. That was until the spa called us back about 20 minutes later. Me, hello? Karen, hey. This is Karen again. The card you used to book the appointment was declined. In order for us to pay our masseuses, I need another card to charge the pre-booked appointment. Me, oh. That's right. That card was stolen 2 months ago. You want me to give you my new one for a service I'm not going to receive? Karen, yes. We have to charge you in order to pay our employees. Me, oh. Good luck with that. Bye now. Second call. Me, hello. Karen, hey. I talked to the manager. We can get you and your wife in for an hour massage, but we will have to charge you for the whole day so we can cover the costs of our employees. I just need your new card number ahead of time. Me, but you told me there was nothing you could do, tight schedule and all. Are you sure you can fit us in? Karen, yes. I talked to the manager. We can make it work. Me, oh darn. Well, see, my card is in my wallet across the room. I don't really have time to get it with all the other things we scheduled to do. Goodbye. They called back 2 more times. Then left a message saying we could have the rest of the whole spa day, but I was unable to answer. I was too busy having a blast at the zipline park we attended with our saved cash. Seriously though, what place thinks it's good business to say your entire day of 6 hours was cancelled because you were a few minutes late and willing to give up the lost time without a fight? You weren't demanding anything extra because of your mistake. This place sounds shady AF and should go out of business. That's just bad faith. Seriously though, What place thinks it's good business to say your entire day of 6 hours was cancelled because you were a few minutes late and willing to give up the lost time without a fight? The kind who thinks they can sell the time to walk-ins and basically double dip for the same amount of time. Makes no sense to say 6-hour day cancelled for a few minutes. Wonder how often they did this to get that extra money and cater to walk-ins. Or they could have had a 5-hour spa day. And of the staff is on a tight schedule, but they were already scheduled for that block of time. And if they already replaced them in the schedule, then they're not losing out on money due to a cancellation, so they shouldn't charge a cancellation fee. By the way, if you can, what's the name of this place so that we can avoid doing business with them? Scammers like this don't deserve to be in business. An odd thing to say, but it seems rather fortuitous that your card was stolen. She didn't even make sense. You even offered to skip the whole first 30 minutes so nothing was pushed back. So nobody got paid because of Karen. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.